Hi guys, it's time for another episode of Model Behaviour, and I don't like that. Could be anything in there. Ugh. Yep, still in the bunker. So, this is a episode where we're nearly at the end now. So I've nearly got to the end of the Spider-Man allies. With that in mind, I would love to hear some suggestions as to what you would like me to do, cover, model for the next season, I guess? That's very Americanism. Series. Either way, what should we do after we've done Spider-Man's allies? I'd be intrigued to know. Also, do you want to see more reviews? Because I saw that my one review on Mac 1 has got a lot more views than the other one. So, hey, are shorter reviews more appealing? And let me know what kind of format you like, because if you like the videos, then I'll do more. And if you don't, then I'll stop pouring so much time into them. But in the meantime, I've made this one, so enjoy.
Look up there!
That's not possible.
I've seen that guy somewhere. On TV. I'm not sure I hope it's long underwear character.
Okay, now we'll start bringing in some figures around the other side so we can keep things even, as my mildly obsessive-compulsive mind likes to keep everything balanced. And we're going to go with Thomas Fireheart, the Puma. Now, this is a character that doesn't feature in the comics all that often. However, he was playing a prominent role in a story when I first started reading called Back from the Edge. This was set back in the time in the early 90s we spoke about earlier, with Daredevil, where Spider-Man was essentially losing his marbles and going around calling himself the Spider. The 90s. Puma's role in this story was to try and play devil's advocate to Peter's brooding ways and convince him to reclaim his humanity and perhaps come back from the edge, if you will. That's the name of So Puma is a pretty bare bones figure. He was one that it took me a while to come around on. He has no accessories besides that all-important Kingpin Build-A-Figure piece, and being an obscure character, I think he's still currently warming quite a few pegs on store shelves around the world. I have, however, developed a bit of a fondness for him. When you take a look at his face sculpt, you can see the work that's gone into crafting these great canine-looking features. And with the claws and the feather detail, it looks like he's just pounced off the comic page. And with the addition of a flight stand to that effect, he becomes a really fun character to throw into the display. Keeping it in the feline theme, we have a New York City siren in the form of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. New York City siren. That sounds like one of those WWE nicknames that they try and force down your throat. You can imagine Michael Cole being like, "It's the New York City siren! Hashtag New York City siren time!" I hate WWE, and that's why I always talk about it. Black Cat for a long time has been a favourite of mine. Hers is a character that has gone through so many arcs and transitions. It makes for a really interesting backstory to follow, going from a villainess to a heroine and back again more than once. When I first began reading, she was featured prominently in a great mid-90s story called Invasion of the Spider Slayers. And being a hormonal teenager, I was rather fond of her wonderfully ludicrous 90s costume. That must have required a lot of tit tape to fight crime in. I'm not even mad. Anyway, the Black Cat has been involved in some really memorable and intense stories that have shaped her character and actually given her real, genuine motivation for her arcs and decisions. I vividly remember the quite harrowing scene when Venom first appeared, and this was when he really was displayed and portrayed as just like a thug. And the Venom that was released with the Eddie Brock head in the Monster Venom wave, that face is very reminiscent of this era, this McFarlane Larson era with the big eyebrows, and he just looks like, as I said, a thug, like a nasty piece of work. And he proved that when the Black Cat encountered Venom for the first time and she mistook him for Spider-Man, which led to her copping a horrible beating from the villain who broke her nose, and it was quite something. Contrary also to so many characters in media, she didn't just John Cena this and shake it off the next day and be like, it was fine. This really affected her character and she lost her confidence. But eventually she refused to be a victim and used tech from the Tinkerer, I think, to enhance her powers and return to fighting crime. So she made a great comeback and eventually, reluctantly, teamed with Venom in Maximum Carnage, and rather amusingly, a writer seemed to forget their history and reintroduced them as if they were meeting for the first time in the Venom vs. Carnage miniseries, which introduced Toxin. That was a series that had great art from Clayton Crane, but the writing was... Anyway, she ticks another box for the Maximum Carnage lineup. Unfortunately, she's not in her classic Maximum Carnage costume. There is the older version of Black Cat that rocks a more appropriate look for that time, but that is... I'm not fond of that figure. You take a look at the face sculpt, and again, it's that plastic, dead-eyed kind of mannequin look, and nope. Wow, I'm really banging on about the Black Cat here. As for the figure, this is certainly a success from Hasbro in my eyes. As I was speaking about the face sculpt on the previous version, this one they've captured perfectly. I think the eyes and smile look vibrant and alive, and it's a massive improvement over the original. As I mentioned, her costume is the more modern version that she began wearing upon her latest heel turn in the comics. Similar to her encounter with Venom all those years ago, Felicia ran into Dr. Octopus while he was masquerading as the superior Spider-Man. It's a great story. And much to her surprise, and in a mirror of what happened years before, he attacked her, again breaking the poor girl's nose and causing her hurt and sense of betrayal to send her back down a life of crime. Since then, though, I believe she's back on the side of the Angels. More face turns and heel turns than the Big Show. She and Peter really need to develop like a code word to identify when she's talking to the real deal, because with doppelgangers and clones and other bodies, and yeah, she needs to figure that one out. Anyway, this figure is rather basic, just coming with her whip, which doubles as a belt in the comics, which is a creative design feature I thought was quite neat. The sculpt has the same minor issues as the ones I mentioned with Silver Sable, where she feels a little spindly due to the feminine dimensions of her body, but you have to accept that in order for the figure to look right, otherwise she's going to look like She-Hulk. So, that notwithstanding, I do really like this figure because it's got a great sort of design to it. I love the black fur on the boots. A problem with a lot of female characters, or just long-haired characters, Thor has this problem too, is you lose a lot of articulation in the head because the solid plastic doesn't really allow for it. But again, as a static pose, it looks terrific. So Black Cat can go next to Puma on her stand as though she's leaping through the air. So for the final part of this episode, we're going to bring in the previously mentioned frenemy of the Black Cat, Eddie Brock Venom. Now, this is Venom figure number 3,867. It's hard to keep track of just how many Venom figures there are out there. He's an incredibly popular, and I believe the term is toyetic character. I mean, just look at him. He's just a fun figure to have on any shelf with the gnashing teeth and the slobbering tongue. He will always look great in three-dimensional plastic form. This was the first Venom to be released from the Legends wave when Hasbro took over, and they really nailed it first time out with the perfect looking sculpting around the teeth and the jaw. They really went the extra mile to give him the gums and the slobber. It's very easy to kind of half-ass your way around a Venom mouth. A lot of comic artists do it as well, where they don't really put the effort into showing the detail around those jaws. This figure, for its scale, I think captures it really well. It's a lovely, clean design, very sleek, and I think it's one of the best representations that we've had of Venom. Of course, with Venom being so popular, we've had more and more releases recently. First with the Monster Venom Bath, and then along with that, of course, we had the second Venom release with the Eddie Brock head, which is not that popular of a figure. In fairness, it's barely a change from the original. It's had what people refer to as the dolphin head for the Venom figure. And the Eddie Brock head, while the sculpt, I think we can all agree, looks pretty decent. It's a great representation of the McFarlane-Larson era Eddie Brock. It is a little oversized for the body, which brings me on to my next point, the body of Venom. Why is he not more of a hulking, brutish kind of character? And when I say hulking, I don't mean like the Hulk. He shouldn't be that big. But when you've got an Omega Red type buck like we can see here. That's just that perfect size between the current Venom and the monster version or the deluxe version. That's where I think he should be, and I think a lot of people agree. He needs to look like a big brute, but not like an A-list Juggernaut Hulk heavy hitter. It's that sweet spot that I think Omega Red fills that Venom would be very comfortable in. And the figure itself comes with another head, which is great. I love the grinning head. I think that looks fantastic. I've repurposed that head for a different figure. And the choice between clenched fists and open hands. And that's something that makes a big difference to a character like this, because either one looks so appropriate for him. One thing we haven't seen yet, which I would love to for a Venom figure, is to actually have a head that has the mask just starting to form around it with some of the teeth and what have you. I know the more recent one, we've got sort of the goop coming up around the neck, but come on, that doesn't really count. I want to see this kind of representation where you can actually see the face forming over it. We've done it before. We've seen it before. So come on, Hasbro. Not that we really need another Venom figure, but I know that you're desperately looking for excuses to put out symbiote figures because they sell. So fair play to you. Give us a Venom head that's forming and looks badass like that. But still, no complaints about this figure. Showing his age a little bit, maybe a little undersized. Okay, I do have complaints, but not big ones. So I'll very happily place him right here. Hopefully he and Black Cat can get along for a while. And you know what? I'm quite happy to leave it there. I think we can finish this off with the next episode. Well, wasn't that full of thrills, chills, and sizzling gypsies? For our next episode, it will be the final one. We'll finally complete this display, and then it's simply a question of what we're going to move on to next. So yeah, do let me know. Let me know what reviews you want to see, if you want to see more reviews, and let me know the format as well, because a lot of reviewers just film the figure, and you can that's all you can see, or they do the whole face to camera holding the figure in front and sort of showing you, and there's a lot to be said for both. So let me know what format you prefer, and yeah, we'll see if we can put together some more fun videos and grow my YouTube empire, and eventually I'll have to get a job first. I'll get a job and then I'll quit it and just do this. Yay!